Back from a long trip from Pinehurst. We have a ton to talk about. How golf shoes work. I got some new stuff for if you guys are interested, if you're club makers. Talking about shafts, talking about builds. It just keeps going on forever. So let's get started. Welcome back to What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Jim McCleary here. Why is it What's in My Drawers? Because old club makers and club fitters are tremendous pack rats, and I'm no different. And it's what about in the drawers in my shop. I point over that way because that's my shop right over there. Anyway, we're in the fitting room, and we talk about club fittings, club repairs, club reviews, and opinions, of course, and anything in between, and a lot of other stuff that you'll see if you've joined us. So, it was a long week, right? It was a long week, and it was one heck of a ride. First, we got to give a nod to Mr. Taylor for winning the Canadian Open. As a Canadian, I was driving back from Pinehurst, and every other sentence was all about how there was this 50-plus year drought for a Canadian, and then something about 100-plus years for a true Canadian. I'm not sure why that was said like that, but nevertheless, that Mr. Taylor, I didn't even get to see the final putt, made like a 70-plus foot putt. That's how you win. That's how you win, right? That's really good. So very cool for him. All right. So before we get started on all the other stuff, the stuff that we built before leaving. Oh, number one, still got hats in every kind of shape and size right there. The blue and the grays at the bottom are adjustable. The tweed looking ones are fitted, and the black camo comes with that. And I believe it also comes with a black and white one on there. So if you're interested, give Mrs. McGolf a nod, and she will help you out. All right, so we talked about when I did a fitting last weekend for a 16-year-old that has a lot of gumption to work on his game, right? And so this is what we made him. A set of irons from the Neo 950 in the S Flex. He swings, he puts a lot of load at the bottom of the shaft, but still needs a little bit lighter weight. And then we put the Golf Pride CP2 in the jumbos. It had very long fingers. And when you have longer fingers and you actually set the grip right in here, you tend to need larger grips in order to allow that grip to get into the, to touch, have that tactile feel on your grip. All right, when you set it right here, well, you need normal. When you set it a little deeper in your hand, you need something a little bit bigger. I misspoke. But he's got really long fingers, and that jumbo fit for him very, very well. And so what did we put in there? Well, you certainly can't tell from there, can you? How about that? Wilson D9 Forge with a staff wedge. The D9 Forge works for him very, very well. And the reason being is because it had a wider sole. His miss was behind the ball. So he hit these diggers. And that was because of a shoulder drop. And so the D9 Forged has a much more radius sole. So when it would hit, it would squirt him out, and he would hit a quality shot. So that's what we went with. The other build was for me. And I redid my Rogue Pros. Look at that. I put some BB&F ferrules on my Rogue Pros. Put in the Acra TZ6s. And yes, I put on the Jumbo Max that I tested. So as the story goes, we got MyGolfSpy had a gathering, and it was one that they set it up and then you pay for it. It was in Pinehurst, and it was for a Friday. You go down Friday, golf 2 rounds on Saturday, golf around Sunday morning, and then go back to your home of residence or another vacation spot, whatever you want to do. And so I signed up for it, kind of thinking about that second 18. I thought, well, you know what? I just came off of a pretty decent round. I won't say it was awesome, but I'm pulling across the ball, okay? And I thought, well, here's one of those times where maybe all that stuff I've been testing, let's just check it out. So from the videos that the Jumbo Max smalls and ultralight worked for me very, very well. So I decided to, I had a set that they had given me, and I said, well, I'll try those out. Then the Acura TZ6s were, we tested those. 95 gram tended to work. Then it was a competition of the 95 gram shafts. TZ6 came out. Now, this is one of those shafts where it doesn't play true to flex, it just plays true to weight. Now, what does that mean? It means that the 95 is going to play, if you're looking for a regular flex 95 gram shaft and you're actually measuring it, this ain't it. All right, this one plays a little stiffer than advertised. And so just so we have a real life picture of it, so there's the Jumbo Max, there's the Acura, and then there's the Rogue. So, oh, and we can't believe, and the BB&F. And I went with blue. I almost put green on there, but all of that stopped me. So I think it's a good little marriage up. It's not too bad. So did it work? Well, my ball striking still was horrible. But I will say this. I have been just absolutely plagued with a snap draw or a hook or a giant pull. And I really didn't experience a lot of that today or during those 3 days. In fact, hardly any. So it did kind of what it was supposed to, but I was still pulling across. So I was hitting a lot of toe hits. And so I give it a little bit more oomph to get it to the same spot. And it was crazy. I hit 2 quality golf shots in the face, and it was night and day different. So now I've got to figure out, is it ball placement? Is it me? What's going on? Or get in the middle of the face. When that happens, these golf clubs are going to explode. And it's the same thing with the driver. I was pulling the driver, drawing the driver, and I was hitting it out, and I couldn't get the doggone thing off the air. They're just hitting these low liners, and down there, that's not a bad thing. And just hitting these low liners, but I wasn't pulling them. They were pretty much finding the fairway. I did get one out there, and I was nearly even with the biggest bomber in our foursome, and it was a kid, and he hits it just a ton, and got it out there. So I know it's there. It's just a matter of finding the middle of the face. So that's on me. Okay, so we got all that taken care of. All right, so we drive down. Oh, before we get ready to go, Mrs. McGolf takes a tumble, and she was helping me out, getting me a cooler for the trip, and tumbled over our ball picker, the last thing that's from the range, and opened her up her elbow. And it looks like that, and that was one heck of an opening. It was a lot deeper and a lot worse than it actually was, or that they show in the picture. And we got her cleaned up, and I taped it up, and I offered to save, but she troopered it out. And then when I got home, the very next day, she went to urgent care. So I don't know what all that means, but there it is. So thanks to Mrs. McGolf for letting me go on the vacation or on the golf trip. All right, so we go on a golf trip, and of course, for me, it's about a 6.5 hour ride, and I had all these little videos I was going to play, and decided against it. Anyway, get down there, and they have the Pinehurst Brewing Company down there, which is a place to get some pub food and a nice place to relax. So that's where I went, waiting on our rooms to be ready, and that's what my view was right there. Not bad. It's that was a Lynchburg lemonade, by the way. Fantastic drink. And I no more sooner than got there, and I got told the rooms are ready. So I decided that I was going to finish up the meal and get ready, and there we go. So that's what we did. We get into the room, which I don't think well, maybe I can get you one or two here if it decides to show up. I know this is a little bit late, because I know that I picked some. Apparently I did not. So maybe I won't. Maybe next time. Anyway, we're at the villas at Pine South. And the villas at Pine South are absolutely amazing. They're humongous. And the bedroom are 2 queen size beds in there. They were big. and two full bed bathrooms, a giant living room that was connected to a dining room with a walk-in kitchen that 4 guys could fit into comfortably, and then a back patio that would fit 10 folks. And we were looking out over the drive-in range of that place, and it was something else. Very, very nice, to be sure. So that was that. So, big thumbs up. Thank you, MyGolfSpy, because that was one heck of a reservation. It was very, very nice, to be sure. And it was very secluded out there in Pine South, so it wasn't like any traffic or any of that other stuff to wake you up in the middle of the night. I also got a new set of shoes, a new set of Sqairz. All right, a new set of Sqairz. The Sqairz Bold look a lot like that, and those are the brand new look right there, buddy. Brand spanking new. Put the blue shoelaces in there to be bolder, and here's another one. There you go. And that's all the green in the background is is my overlook for where we're at. Now the difference here is these were the Bold they have a little bit more narrower look than the original ones, although the toe box is a little bit the same. How they accomplished that, I don't know. The bottoms are softer. They've got a little bit more cushion in them, and this is what they look like after two really hard days of playing golf. I'll tell you that. And I tell you what, it's the most comfortable golf shoe I put on. I'll just say it like that. Most comfortable golf shoe I put on. Now, the funny guy I work with, we were talking about that, and I was just telling him about these, and he goes, "Are they comfortable?" And I said, "Absolutely." And he ordered a pair, and he went out and played golf with a buddy that was coming into town, and he told me he shot the best round of golf in his life on probably one of the hardest courses in the area. And so we kept giving him guff about it. It was all about the shoe. But there is something to it. There really is something to it about this. Very nice, right? So if you're in the mood for a golf shoe, that I would suggest highly, particularly if you feel like your feet are getting squished when you get in a golf shoe. This is that. I wear a wide shoe, and all I do is order a 12, and it fits fine. All right, enough of that one. So I went around and took some pictures of what was in the bag, and some interesting club cover choices. And there's mine. And this was our group that went there. That's all of us right there. All right. So good group of guys. I think a couple guys missed getting into the picture, but it was a good trip. Good group of guys. Super nice. Lots of ribbing going on as we should, and I thought it worked out just very, very well. Some good pictures here, and we'll go through them very, very rapidly. I believe these are all Pine South pictures. I should have music playing in the background. Yeah, this is on the back nine right there. Get you over to a blind shot. This is 18 right here. Gotta clear that water. That's just looking back more from it. This is for the second shot to it. There's my roommate, and it was funny. That was my roommate and the young man that hits the ball forever. There's 3 left-handers in this group, and the dad was the righty, the odd man out. This is on the front. Another very picturesque hole. And this is on Pine Needles. I only took a few for there. Pine Needles, and then we also stopped at Tylemore, but I stopped taking pictures and started playing golf. Then drove all the way home, avoided about 3 wrecks, and had a good day, and that was the end of my day right there. Which is this guy, a Pine South glass. I don't know if you can see it. And then it looks like there's a golf ball in the middle of that guy. It's not bad. Looks like there's a lot. It's because there's a giant ball in there. Then again, if it goes for a while, hey. Alrighty, so what else did we see? So one of the MyGolfSpy guys said he had a buddy who was a club maker and he was getting out of it and he just wanted to give away some stuff. And the guy thought of me. And I thought, well, I normally don't like taking stuff, but if it's going to go to a good home or whatever, then I'm all about that. Let's go. And so I did. So he brings it in, and it's all dated stuff, and but it's good to talk about. So, and the funny part is that we had these. These are called out of sights, and then some tarantulas. Now this is a 5 and this is a 9, but I remember building these. These were like 20 plus years ago, and they worked. They really did. They really worked. Nice little clubs, but they're just all head pieces. So if any of you guys are out there and you just want to build a golf club and you just want a head or whatever, I'm sure we can arrange a picture and you can have it. You just need to pay for the shipping to get it. All right. And you can have this. Now, there was some really cool stuff, and we talk about dating. This is like a perfect what's in my drawers, except for it's what's in somebody else's drawers. He also had some wooden shafts, and this is what I wanted to talk about in a shaft identification. Now, in a graphite shaft, it's pretty easy because it's right there. This is an Aldala VL. They haven't made it says 100% graphite. No kidding. They haven't made an Aldala VL. This one's older than that 16-year-old. But it was a quality made shaft, and you see these meant, all these markings meant something as to relationships to flex. And if you had I don't know if you can see that line, that was the line for the flowing. Okay, so Aldala did this back in the day. I'm going to guess this to be about a 65 gram shaft. And this is the most unscientific way of doing it, but I believe this might actually be a stiff one. All righty. Now, this is where it comes down to, and I got something else for if you guys are interested. This is a steel wood shaft. All right, steel wood shaft. Now, what we're going to talk about is identification of these things. Now, you don't necessarily, you might get it. Now, I happen to know this is a precision because it says precision right here. Precision was we'll call it the stock line for the original rifle. So this is some really nice shaft, to be honest with you. But how do you identify golf shafts when you don't have any labels? Because this doesn't have any logo, it doesn't have a number, doesn't have a code, it doesn't have anything. So how do you identify this? You identify it by its steps. Okay, you identify it by the first step, second step, third step, fourth step, and their measures from the bottom of the shoulders, bottom of the shoulders, bottom of the shoulders, bottom of the shoulders, because there's always a pattern. Now, where do you find that? And this is something for you club maker types out there. You find some of it in this golf club design fitting alteration, i.e. the club maker's Bible. And that's what we call it. And in this, I had to find the marking, but in this is a whole line of shafts. This is just a few to speak of to get the point across. But what it does is it talks about the type of shaft, it talks about the butt section, and its diameter of the butt, and then it talks about step patterns. And it'll tell you first step, second step, and that, and then it'll also tell you about the tip section. So in this particular case, if you were looking at Dynalite Gold Woods and you had an X100, you would have a taper tip at the end, and then the steps be 1 7/8 apiece. And you would know that you had a 620 butt, a 924 tip, which they don't make that anymore. And they come anywhere from 42 to 45 inches in diameter, and they weigh in about 3.98 ounces. So it was even taken apart in ounces. Okay, so this is so that's how you identify it. Now that was for wood. The same thing applies for an iron shaft. You have to have the identification guide, in order to understand it. Now, I'm sure that that guide is somewhere else. I just don't know, because I've always had one of these. This is the Club Maker's Bible. This is probably the newest one. It's the 4th edition, and it's got a whole bunch of Apollo and Easton stuff on it, so I don't know how far back that takes you. So anyway, this thing talks about, how to whip woods, how to finish woods, how to put the holes in it, changing the face angle. You can go through the first, if you're interested in that, because it's becoming a thing again. The first, I don't know, quarter of this book probably doesn't take to too much of stuff that's good. But after that, it starts talking about golf club design. It talks about installation and removal techniques. It talks about how to build a bench. It talks about the stuff in the shafts. It talks about center of gravities. It talks about what lie angles do, the whole 9 yards. It's a real, I've literally read this whole book. All right. Literally read this whole book. Again, definitely something to consider. I'm not done yet. Then he's got a second edition. This is relatively new too. A second edition club fitting plan. All right, this is from Maltby. Matter of fact, I think that's Mark there. And this is at their driving range that they had. Look at this old thing back. This is a 70s kind of picture. Anyway, this talks about from front to back, side to side, top to bottom, fitting. But you've got to. But he starts with understanding the golf club first, then understanding how the golf club works in particular circumstances. And we talk about spin rates and where you hit it and what it does and what the curvatures mean. And then he talks about identifications. And I'll go one more. And then they talk about bounces and lie angles, that kind of thing. This one even has some recommended evaluations, right? This is part of the fitting forms, okay? Part of the fitting forms. Now, the guy that gave it to me for nothing, and all I had to do was bring it down here. And I thought about keeping it, but I already have them. I already have them. So if you guys are interested in, I'd like to, I don't know if I'd like to, if you're a club maker or if you're a club fitter, let's spread the wealth and pick one book. And there again, you can have this thing. You just got to pay for the shipping. Miss McGolf, I'm sure, will hook us all up and put them in a nice box and send it your way. Okay. Now, the last bit for dating. For those of you in the know, look at this guy. Look at this guy. The green arrow, man. The Grip Right green arrow. And you know what these were? So you notice how you don't see anything on the bottom? You know why that is? They're called buffed, because that means they didn't pass an inspection somewhere. Now because they used to have almost a plasticky kind of cap on it. This dates this one. This isn't necessarily the original, but it's really close. Then you look at this one, and look at this guy. This is an original wrap grip. The original wrap grip from Golf Pride. And it says Golf Pride Tour Wrap right there on it. See, this is what the bottom of this one should look like. You have all that. There you go. It has all that lettering and stuff on it. So yeah, there's a handful of those. There's some lead shot. There's some a variety of these, a variety of some of the older metal woods, a whole box of variety of these. So if you guys are tinkers, want to play around, want to know a little bit more about it, send us an email. We'll shoot you a picture or whatever, and you can go from there. Okay. That was a lot. I mean, it's a lot of fun to see it. I saw this and my mouth about dropped. I've probably made about 4 or 5 sets of these things. And these, I never bought these only because I didn't think the tarantula was necessarily a thing. But yeah, they went through several design issues with these. If you look, This one was more of a player's where it had a killed leading edge and a rounded one, where this guy was just plain simply flat, go get it kind of club. So, but a much bigger, deeper, deeper cavity, so it flew higher. Okay. So overall, number one, Mrs. McGolf is fine. We got her a tetanus shot and some antibiotics, and she's doing okay. Number two, the trip down there was actually very easy from this part of Ohio, pretty much all highway. And then Pinehurst itself, what can you say about Pinehurst other than it's a really nice place? Uh, I would definitely uh, suggest that if you're going as a group. Now, my golf was not very good, so you don't want to go by it based on my scores. However, the around here, grass is a little bit more lush than it is down there. It's very sand based down there. You would think clay, but there's a lot of sand, and the grass was very short pile and almost hard pan like. So the guys playing hard pan were having a day with it. The guys like me, we were struggling to get basically or try and get under the ball without taking 5 yards of dirt, and so that's where I struggled. Now, one last bit on the difference between the lab putter. If you guys are asking me about that, the lab putter and the Makefield putter, both putters shined in two different situations. I got to tell you right now, the worst part of my game was probably the best part of my game, in that I walked up to putts thinking I was going to make them versus walking up to the putts hoping I was going to make them or wondering how close I was going to miss. That's a different attitude. All right. That's what you call being confident. And I'm here to tell you, for me, that lab putter did it. Right. And I took that same stroke with that Makefield and I was throwing them around real close as well. Now, why did I change? The first round, the second round of golf, the greens were very manicured and they were very quick, and we got to see some breaks, and sometimes we saw them and they weren't there. But I'd take a nice easy stroke and the ball would roll very smoothly and get there. At Pine Needles, the greens were aerated and they had not healed, so they had all these bumps, and grooves in that stuff. And so half the greens were really slow, half the greens were really fast. So you had to kind of guess. However, uh, I put the Makefield in play to get over the bumps and right through it. So did very well. Do I like them both? Yeah. At that particular instance, they both had much to offer. Now, again, the last bit of this, and we'll move on, is that I could have been. In fact, there was a couple of times I was 5, 6 yards off the green, and it was so low pile that instead of trying to miss a chip, I just putted it. And the putts, I was within 2 foot of the hole every time I did it, and I did it with both putters. So they both have a lot to offer. The lab, I will give the nod to the lab just because of the way that it balances. I knew exactly when I was missing and I knew exactly when I was on. So we'll go from there. Okay. I think we got it. No, one good thing I got to give Pine Needles a nod because I said I was going to. Uh, the service at Pine Needles. So I was looking for uh, a set of glasses like this with pine needles on it, and they had them. They weren't exactly like this. They called them rocks glasses, where this is an old-fashioned glass. And I guess the difference between the two is that this has significant amount of weight, where the other ones did not. So the guys were very apologetic, very forthright, and they did me a solid. And I want to mention that to them. Now, was it just them? The answer to that is no. It was everywhere. The people in the bar area were very nice. The people in the clubhouse were over the top nice, and the people in the golf carts, all the young men running around there. I've never seen so much politeness in one area. It was just crazy. So very nice. And talking to the people driving around, it was amazing how pleasant everybody was. So, and I did like the layout. I like the layout of Pine Needles. there was a couple of holes that seemed mundane, but the rest of them were very nice. Now, my score is not going to reflect that because after the first 9, the McGolf tank was empty. And all I was doing was pushing the ball forward just to get done with 9 holes, and I'd pretty much checked out. Outside of that, beforehand, it was a pretty decent round. All righty, so let's get to the comments and see what's out there. Let's get to the very top. I got to get off of that thing. All right, up to the top. There we go. Matt's in there, shot 2 under on my only round of golf last week. Well, look at that. 2 under. Man, I'd like to see that one day. Me.
Which one's considered the Bible? The big one?
The big one, the dark blue one. Did you describe any changes with the equipment? Well, I think you saw it. I will say I put the Jumbo Max grip on my driver, and my driver I was pulling, hacking, hooking, whatever you want to call it. Bob saw it. And I put that Jumbo Max in there, straightened me out. Now I think actually I got to start teeing the ball up a little bit because it changed the way I release the club. I put those 2 things together. McGolf is back. Oh, the other thing I'm doing is I'm changing my shoes. I do like the regular ones, but these Bolds were just so comfortable. I think I'm going to have to wear them. All right. Mr. Joe, how are you, sir? I wonder where you're at today. Good afternoon. My question for you, sir, is I can feel the butt end of my club wobbling around at the top of my swing. I'm already used Midside Golf. Continue the next entry. If I go to a jumbo grip on one of my clubs, what would the effect have on my swing, positive or negative? It's not, hey, don't be sorry. Here's what I would suggest, and it's an old school trick. I'm going to have to kind of use. So the question you got to ask yourself, Joe, is it you or is it the grip? All right. Have you seen the old tee trick where you put a tee in the back end of your hand right here? And if you go onto the backswing and this thing opens up and this thing falls out, that means what's happening up here is you're doing this. All right, that's a regrip. Okay, that's a regrip. There's no amount of grip, big, small, or otherwise, that's going to stop that. Well, maybe super duper big, but then that changes a little other things. So this. So number one, before you go changing grips, what I would do is I would seriously consider when you bring the club back to just really concentrate on not letting it wobble. And it's not necessarily when you bring the club back, it's when you bring the club down. All right. When you get right to here, what will happen is the people will do this in order to feel like they get a little extra tilt on it. And you don't really need that. So feel like you're coming back, maybe even think about coming back to like 3/4 so it stays here and then bring it down. If it still feels wobbly, then yeah, we might want to investigate a little bit more. And it depends on the wobble. You may be able to just put a wrap of tape or 2 just in the backhand in order to help stop that. All right. I would go with that first. Then if that doesn't help, then I would go to the bigger grip. And what does it do? Honestly, not a lot. It stabled me out. I'm a tremendous regripper. And I was regripping with this thing. I could feel this thing. I was letting go. And it took me about 6 holes to realize that's not the purpose here. The purpose was to stay through. And the minute I started going through and holding on to it, my yardage went up. And it was because I was being more efficient with the ball. And then I was scooting in a little bit on it, and I hit a decent shot. And I was like, oh, there it is. So, and it depends on also depends on the grip too, Joe. This is an ultralight, which means that I feel a little bit more of this in my swing, where if you had the heavier one and it was right here, being the aggressive guy, you'd probably want it here in your hands so that when you went back and you would feel it and you're like, oh, there it is, because it's right here, not way out here, and that's also another possibility of the wobble. Okay. All righty. What do you say, Dave? Hope's all well. Have you looked at a company called Proto Concept Golf, and any thoughts? I've heard of them, but that's all I know. I know they're out there, and I'd like to tell you I know all about them, but I just don't. I just don't. If you have anything on it, let me know. It'd be interesting to find out. Okay. Jim Anderson, from a very warm evening in Fife, Scotland. Hope you both have very well. Enjoy the videos. Well, Jim, thank you, sir. And thank you for staying up that late. And very warm from Scotland is a whole lot different. Well, you know what? It's worth talking about that. So here in Ohio, in the bottom of the mountains, the Appalachian Mountains, it was going from 50s to 70s, 60s to 80s. It was very, very comfortable because the humidity was still low. And like today, it rained last night, and I think it's a high of the maybe mid 70s, upper 70s. And it's very, very comfortable. I get down to Pinehurst, and it starts out in the 50s, supposed to get the 80s. I'm like, no problem. It's a great golf weather. And it is great golf weather. And except for the 9,000% humidity that we ran into. And it felt like I was wearing a water blanket everywhere I went. And what I found is that, it was almost like I hadn't drank enough water. And I drank probably 3 bottles of water in 3 holes. And all of a sudden I just even dried out. And it was pretty decent. So I like that. But yeah, it was very, 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 very sticky. Very, very sticky. All righty. Michael Moody. Well, hello to you too. Hi guys, just got back from a 9, and wow, were they off the tee? Oh, very good. Glad you like them. Very nice. Jerry Wilson, Louisiana, and I'm sure it's balmy down there. Temp 96, humidity 95, and I get to save some money. Got fitted. I get to save some money. Got fitted and gifted a set of D7 forged. Good for you, bud. You won't be disappointed with those. Those are pretty nice. Deuce K from St. Louis. How are you, buddy? Glad you're here. Chris, what do you say, man? Call me crazy. Okay, you're crazy. No. Oh, just ordered a 9-wood head. That is a 5-wood 1 length, 220-gram head weight to replace my 3, 4, and 5 hybrid that I can't hit quite high enough. I hit my 6-iron hybrid about 185 carry. Okay. Is it working? Because your 9-wood, it depends on what, if your 3 and your 4, 5 hybrid, the 9-wood is probably close to probably like a 5-6 kind of hybrid, I would say. So I can't believe the 9-wood will go further than 3 or 4 unless you are just absolutely missing it. Okay. And then again, it also could be, Chris, that maybe a hybrid is just not for you and that you're more of a woods guy anyway. That could be another issue right there. When we do fittings, that's what we try to find out what you have a bigger preference for, because it really is an odd animal that can do both very, very well. One, you just gravitate towards one or the other. All right. Marano, hopefully I say that. Mariano, there you go. From Brazil. Nice. Brazil, we need to put that one on the map. That one's a new one. Well, thanks for joining us, sir. All right, Michael just played 9 holes. It was great. Oh, good. The Mizuno Hot Metal Pros. Those are great. Those are good clubs. All right, here in Brazil. Nice. That is so cool that we have somebody from Brazil. So we got Scotland covered, we've got Brazil covered, we've got the whole entirety of the Midwest covered. We are killing it. All right, Jerry Wilson, is it normal to lose weight? My swing seems to have flattened out. Well, there's less in the way. That's one way of looking at it. Because when you're like that, when you lose weight, you get a lot of stuff that when you lose weight, you can make they'll tell you can make a better turn. When you bring the club back, you're bringing a club more towards this way instead of more going vertical, because you got to make way for the belly, right? And that's just how that works. So yeah. And the other thing I've also heard, and don't be disappointed with it, is that when you lose the weight, in some cases, your distances get lower. And the reason why your distance get lower is because you just haven't figured out, just like I'm doing, is can't find the middle of that golf club, and the turning of the mass. And it's just about getting stronger, because what it'll do is you lose the weight, the distance will do like this. You get used to being where you're at, and the distance will go right back up. That's proven. All right, that's proven in data. So keep it up, sir. I'd like to be able to join you. All right, Travis K. in New Jersey. What are your thoughts on the merger? Oh no, I was kind of hoping to avoid this. Okay. Let's start with this. I was never a LIV fan. All right, never ever. But I never wanted the LIV guys I didn't want to give them down the road. If they left, and everybody, you left for the money, and that's fine. Just say you left for the money, right? And like Harold Varner III, that dude, he's got all the respect for me any one person can give. He was right up front. He said that was life-changing money that was going to set up his family for generations. How can you possibly hold anything like that against that gentleman? You can't, because he's making a decision based on what's best for his family. And if you win some extra money, more power to you. Now, with all that grumbling between the two, I bet that caught everybody flat-footed. I don't know, there's still, even a week after they've been talking about, there's still speculation. How are you going to intertwine the two leagues, or the three leagues for that matter? Is DP going to stay where it's at? Is the LIV going to stay where it's at? How is that going to work? I don't think that we really understand that, but now they understand that the guys that stayed are kind of upset, right? And now they're coming up with some way to make it better for them. All right. And are the LIV players that want to come back on the tour, is it going to be tougher for them? Are they going to start with 0 points and work their way? How's that going to work? There's just a whole lot going on. And if you bring them in, if you're going to bring them back, I'd say, just like anything else, those guys knew what was going to happen when they left. They knew. Some of them resigned their membership. Those guys played by the rules. I'd say bring them back in by the rules, make them do their thing, and start them right at where everybody else starts, and make them earn their way back up. The guys that just left and gave the PGA the big middle finger, I'm leaving, I don't know. That one's I think there should be some more involved with that. I think there should be some penalties involved, because they knew what was going on, and why should they be able to reap the benefits for that? That's just me playing by the rules. Now, the one thing that does concern me, and I don't know what it means, is that they say that the folks at LIV Golf have the first and right now only rights to investing into this new for-profit company. Nobody knows what that means. As soon as we figure out what all that means, then I think we can all have a better understanding of what we're looking like. Now, personally, what it has a feel, for those of you that are old enough to have seen it, it has an AFL, NFL kind of vibe, or even an ABA, NBA kind of vibe. And they both had different leagues, and they came together, and eventually they realized that one league was what the people wanted to see, and you got that. And so I figure once all the heartache and the people that are much smarter than me get together on this and work some things out, that if they were to get to a singular league, a singular league, and that it's better for the game of golf, and it very well make for some really good watching, right? It may work. I mean, look at the Canadian Open 72 footer. Huh. I guarantee you that's not happening over there. So, hey, so, I'd say, Travis, ask me that question again about a month and a half when more information comes out, and we'll see what happens there. Maybe I'll change my mind. John Cherry from Myrtle Beach. How are you, sir? Is puring a shaft same as a frequency balancing of a shaft? The answer to that is no, it is not. Puring of a shaft, I just happen to have a very old one. Puring of a shaft. All right, puring is a computerized balancing method where a clamps onto the end of this thing, and it looks like a big old lathe clamp. It's a huge thing. It's a wheel about yay big around, and has these 4 jaws that come in and clamp onto this thing. Then it sits in a jig that you get down at this end, and it clamps on this way, and it will turn it and it will pull, and it will turn it and it will pull, and it will turn it and pull, turn and pull. What it's doing is it's finding the highest side of the stress, or basically the high side. And then once all done, it'll twang it and find it in that area. And then it goes through another check and balance to see how round this thing is, to give you the best place to orient it into the club. That's puring. And that's so that you're balanced. Now, frequency balancing, or frequency matching, is making sure that when you twang these in a frequency machine, that there is some semblance of an order of a climb for matching, and the matching is based on length and frequency for flex. So if there's a graph, and there's a graph for all stiff, and you made sure that all your clubs are on that line, you have frequency matched. You haven't done anything with the balance. So they go hand in hand, but they are different. All right. Chris, trying out some Jumbo Max. Nice. Let us know what you think. The testing I did sports out that it's not for everybody, but all the testing I did, there was one guy that did not like them. And that wasn't me. And the rest of them either hit it further or got more consistent. So, there's something to it. NP, howdy all. Does shaft length adding extensions affect line angle, shaft flex, and swing weight? Yes. Yes, it does. So let's go. Okay, does shaft length adding extensions affect line angle? Answer is yes. Yes, it does. So and it's all based on where you're at. So if this is the shaft at a given length, and you add it, and you now basically added a length, it would look like this at the same guy at address. So it would make it go up. If it got shorter, it would look a lot like this. It would be more upright because you're closer. So basically what it is you've gotten further away from the ball, and the club will be upright. So if you've lengthened the club and you're hitting more into the heel, or even, and maybe even missing it, or you're pulling it to your inside, that might be it. Shaft flex, adding length. If you added those extensions in, not really. Okay. That's the simplest answer I can give you. There's a very technical workout for it. Some would say, well, now is it exact? No, but is it a massive change that it would be perceivable to the average golfer? The answer to that is no either, as also. So if you were to add this in and add another length, say the width of my hand, and you twang it, the number for the CPMs would go down, but it's also length oriented. And as you've got to come down the length, and so the number will be smaller on that same flex. All right, swing weight. Yeah, swing weight's going to go way up, right? For every half of an inch, the swing weight goes up 3 points. So if you went up an inch, you're looking at 6 points. That's just the math in general. Hopefully that helps. Duque, it's been a few weeks. I already said Mizuno 923 Hot Metal Pros. They tell me 6 to 8 weeks. That sucks. Does that sound right? Where are they built? Oh yeah, shot of 78. Well done, sir. I'm glad to see it. We are being told that custom orders are in that 5 to 6 week range, I'm guessing. Every time that they have so they were back up to 3 or 4 weeks, and every time they have a holiday, they use it as an excuse to go an extra week. It's for some reason having one day off just blows out a whole week's worth of bills. I'm not sure of that whole process, but I think it's all about the idea of under promise and over deliver. At least I hope that works out for you in that direction. And they're built in Georgia. If I understand it correctly, they've got a plant down there, or they got a factory down there where they assemble it. All right. Michael always taught that these Rogue Pros were forged, but I think they're cast. Wow, nice. Been trying to find a lefty set. They're a forged face. The rest of the body's not so much. So you're, like most things, we're all half right and half wrong. So these guys are the forged part of it. These guys are not, because it's a cap, right? It's a hollow body. And they stopped making these things a while back. So your best bet, if you're looking for new, good luck. If you're just looking for a set, I would try Callaway pre-owned and see what you find there. Oh, look at that. Yeah, it was. She wasn't real happy about it. We got her taped up and put some Neosporin on it to help the healing. It's only been a couple of days, and it looks significantly better. She needs to slow it down a little bit, though. Jack from Lombard, how are you, sir? Duque, thanks for the info. Heard it from Rock Tech. I can be patient. Okie dokie. There you go. Look at that. My dog Rex, how are you, sir? Thank you. He's telling everybody put thumbs up. You know, the fact that you just said that just tells me that I forgot to ask everybody. If you would go down there at the bottom, down in there, right there, and hit the like button and hit the subscribe if you're not already subscribed. There's some sort of notification bell that tells you when we are going to let some go. And I do have some videos to put out there. So you should see one tomorrow. Spencer, how are you, sir? Hey, Mr. McGolf. Is there a sequence to your fitting process for irons and woods, i.e. length and weight and light? Well, yes, there is, Spencer. Yes, there is. I find length first. And then from the length, I find lie angle. And then from lie angle, after we've hit a few, I look to see what side of the fairway everything's landing on, and that's offset. And then when I go back into my launch monitor, and I start looking at acceleration profiles. And acceleration profiles have to do with weight and profile and flex. So once we get those kind of established, then we can get the head that's in the neighborhood of what we want, and at the lie angle that we want, at the length we want, at the weight we want, and the profile, and that's our starting point. And then we just go from there based on the input from the golfer. Hey Jim, Robin, hope as well. I see Callaway's updating the Apex line in September. No, I have not heard any of that. You are always the insider for that stuff. That's awesome. But I'm all about listening for that because I like the Apex. All right. I think Mrs. McGolf she came in here and got it, buddy. So we'll see. Ryan Crow. Hope everyone has been taking advantage of this nice weather and getting some rounds in. Still loving the new clubs. Hope your arm feels better, Mrs. McGolf. There you go. Thank you. And yes, I'm glad you enjoy them. I think Mrs. McGolf is helping you guys with that one. All right. I hope she told you. It's the club fitting alteration repairs. It says generation number 4. You just get whatever the last one. I think there's a number 5. Get that one. Are you talking to me over there? Yeah, I'm looking at you. Norm Grodecki, what do you say? Interested in hearing about those new shoes? I have trouble finding wide enough shoes. I have custom ordered 13 wide. Well, Sqairz, SQ. Let me hold on. There you go, bud. Sqairz, Sqairz. Okay. I like them, right? I like them. They have the originals, which I threaten that I'm going to get out of them. I don't think so, but the originals seem to be just a skosh wider, and they have multiple colors. If you want black, if you want white, they now have a mesh, so it's more like a tennis shoe, and then they have those bolts. In almost every instance, I've gotten 4 pairs of socks that say Sqairz on them. For you being a 13, I wear a 12. It's the same sock. It actually might fit you. This thing goes way up my ankle, and they fit great as far as feel goes, but they're so daggone tall. They stick. I mean, they stick out. They're like a crew sock with a little check on the back. So I don't know. I'm not my favorite, but it is what it is. But yeah, give them a shot. Saskatchewan, Canada. Nice. There's another continent or another country. Whoo! Well done. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Doug, I see what's going on, buddy. Missed you at the Pinehurst trip. I saw that. You look well, and it appears that you're still enjoying what you do. Yeah. It's been a lot of fun, Doug. I tell you what. I seen you've been playing a lot of your guitar, bass. Yeah, nicely done. And yeah, it's been fun. The last couple of years have been very, very interesting. Actually, the last 3 years. COVID's been a big boom, and now golf has been popular as ever, and it's been a real positive thing. And it's it's one of those things. I always wish I knew then if I knew then what I knew now, life would be way different. All righty. You need to. I tell you what, dude. When they do the next one, you need to. If you have the time, you need to go. It was a lot of fun. All right. Oh, Robin's a diamond now. Yes, I did. Interesting your growth in those jumbo max. You know what? I think it's going to be a positive addition. I really do. I just got to get back into hitting a golf club. What it is, Matt, is it's a trust factor because I am so right now in this got to hit it kind of mode when I know I don't have to do that. And that's what helped me realize that was playing that 36 holes. I got to the point I was just so tired, I couldn't do it. And once I started doing it, the distances never really truly changed. And I was like, well, look at this. And that's what happened. Hey, C. Nozzle. He was one of the guys that was at the MyGolfSpy, and this guy has got game. Don't let him tell you otherwise. He can hit the ball a ton. Says, hope Robin, the elbow's doing better. Did you like the pine cones? Oh, let's see what she says. This ought to be funny. She saw him, Chris. She's like, oh, you got some more pine cones. Look, and it's like, you got new pine cones? I said, well, look at this. Oh, those are pretty damn big pine cones. And so they go with the other ones we brought up from our last trip. Golf club, fitting alteration, repair principles, 4th edition. There you go. That was a sarcastic, yes, I really needed more. And he did too. He almost, everybody's trying to give me a pine cone. You almost had you had enough for a bunch when they were done. And what Chris is talking about here is that down in North Carolina, for lack of a better term, they have these mutant-sized pine cones. Around here, pine cones, typical pine cones, about yay big. A bigger one would be about like that, and kind of a dense pine cone. Well, down there, the average size of pine cone is like this. It's a monster. And the ones I brought her one that was the size of a football, and then a couple others that were just a little bit smaller. They're so big, I couldn't help but pick one up. Look, elbow's doing good after antibiotics. Yeah, you're right, I would have. Stu, what do you say? Does a more spiny golf ball keep its shot straighter, so a TP5 will be straighter than a TP5X due to its less spin axis tilt? Oh, wow. So, Stu, if I'm interpreting this question correctly, all right. So I'm just going to use a golf ball here. If we could find the when you said spinny golf ball, all right. So what you're asking is probably a pretty good question. So what you're asking me, so if this is, we'll get close here. There we go. We'll use that up and down of the triad. That's the spin axis. Is a more spinny ball going to get you offline more than the X ball? If you hit them identically the same and it stayed in this particular axis, the answer is no. However, this is how we typically will hit it in one axis or another, right? Because we're coming in at an angle, we're we're coming down from an angle, we're coming through, and it's not exactly even Steven. So the tilt will be this way or this way. And that's also governed by how much the face is open or the face is closed, your attack angle. There's a lot that goes into it. Now, if you're asking me, a ball that produces more spin will travel offline more than a ball that will produce less spin. That's the answer. Now, does the X ball spin less? In some cases, it does. In other cases, it does not. And I will give you another point of contact. The RB Tour from Mizuno. They have an RB Tour and RB Tour X. The RB Tour is supposed to be the normal golf ball, where the X is the X ball, as everybody would understand. I hit them and spun the X ball less. Now that, you think, oh, that's what it says, Jim. Good job. Well, I brought in a couple of guys that are really good golfers that swing about 25 mile an hour faster than me and just aggressive as all get out. And they hit the regular ball with less spin. Go figure. All right. So it is different. You got to hit the ball. I guess that's the best. But to answer your question, a less spinny golf ball will keep it online. Yes. Brendan, what would be a good graphite shaft for a set of irons? I heard reg steel. All right, guys. What would be a good graphite shaft for a set of irons? I heard reg steel. Maybe there's some. Here we go. What would be a good graphite shaft for irons? I was told try steel fiber and regular as they play stiff. That's based on profile, Brendan. The graphite shafts for irons. The steel fiber is a very nice shaft to be sure. If you're on the fence in swing speed and the way that you release, maybe a steel fiber and regular hard stepped one would probably be where you want to go. But if you were kind of a smoother cat, if you're more aggressive, then I would play the at the appropriate length or appropriate flex. I would also give KBA, if you're looking at it depends on what you're looking for, because just like in drivers, the different profiles exist in irons. Okay, so there are KBS makes a TGI, which is brutally stiff, and they make a PGI, which is very flattering for a golfer that is smoother, gets through the ball, just tags it. The 95 gram or even 100 gram would keep up with somebody that can really send the ball. I did the testing on it. My other one is the Acra. The TZ6 is another one. I'd recommend that wholeheartedly for a lot of people. But you got to ignore the flex. Trying to think. Project X makes a couple of shafts. I have the VRTX Clubmaker shafts, which are really quite nice, but I'd have to go back and look at what Project X is putting out. They have the LZ, I think, or the something LZ that's kind of that kind of setup. I would look at those. But steel fibers are very nice to be sure, and it just depends on where you set in that. If it sets, if you're looking at putting them in your Sqairz, I think they would fit fine in the Sqairz. They're made for that. Again, if you're on the cusp, then maybe, but I would like they have that R plus. I would go there. If not, then I'd stay with it. Stay with the regular flex. Greg Pace, how are you, sir? Got my irons back from Ping to have them adjust the angle 2 degrees flat to orange dot. Can't wait to get them out of the range. All right. That's a good thing. Advanced Dynamic Golf Center. Now we're talking. Head of Alvin. Oh, yeah? Hey, Alvin. Good for you, man. Well done. Oh, you can tell the XC that we put in my driver is doing exactly what we said it was going to do now, man. It's a low liner shot. I might have to go get something that's a little bit more friendly now. My Dog Rex, isn't the PGA joining LIV for the money? Why penalize players for doing the PGA is doing Monday qualifiers for everyone? Well, yeah, that I can't argue with the thought process. I just can't, except for it's LIV joining the PGA, but it's a lot of LIV back. Like it's like the silent partner that bought everything. Is basically what it feels. That's what it feels like to me. For Duke, I took out my Hot Metal 8 Pros 8 weeks to get home and be patient. Ah, okay. John Lamb. Shorten the driver 45, 45. Didn't notice any distance loss, but a lot more controls. Same with 3 out. Your thought on shorter drivers and fairways. To be very blunt and short to the point is what took you so long. I've done studies that shows about 44 and a half for traditionally fits more people under the bell curve. And if you're going to go anywhere else, it's between 44 and maybe 45, but I think more realistic 44 and 3/4. And what you're seeing right there, John, is that was probably the most perfect length for you, and your quality of hit went up, and you probably find out that eventually you start hitting it further. And so, yeah, I'm with you. Now, as far as lowering the 3 wood and the 5 wood, that's iffy, because if it's 43 and a half, then yes, 43, 42, 41. that kind of thing. Because when they originally tossed around, drivers were 43, 42, 41, and 40 were the lengths of drivers. Then they went up to 44, and 3-woods became 43, 42, 41, and that became a standard accepted length for a long time for woods, and it was steel shafts and that kind of stuff. All right, and length is length regardless. So 44.5 has been very, very good. The reason why we went up a half an inch because the heads got so bling and big. I mean, they just did. They got really, really big. All righty. Played Lambkin Jumbo with 6 wraps for years. Whoo! Hands like catcher's mitts. Well, that makes sense. You might find you will lose touch and feel around the greens, but don't worry, it will come back. I thought about that for a moment, John, and what I found is that I was swinging the club incorrectly short-wise as far as very, very close to the greens, like little pitch shots. Instead, I was just using all my hands and getting away with it as opposed to making the turn. And that kind of helped me out. Now, as far as trying to feel like, say, a 100-yard shot with short irons, yeah, I get you on that one. All right. Last couple. 101 question. Sorry, not a problem, bud. Did my first shaft chain yesterday on an old iron. Very nice. Should I be placing a club in a certain way for curing, head up or down? Thanks from Australia. I put it in its playing position. Okay. When you want it to dry, leave it dry sitting like this. All right. That way the glue sits here. Because what will happen is if you set it, now I've known folks that will do this, and for the most part they get away with it, but there's always that opportunity for it to run down inside the shaft or even out. What I would do is leave it like this because this is the playing position. That's the way you made it to play. So let it dry in the way you're going to let it play. There you go. All right. Yes, the LZ is amazing for slow speed swing guy. They feel amazing. Hey, so I hit one. There you go. So that's it. All right, guys. So we hit the bottom of the list. Thank you very much. We hit a whole bunch of continents or countries today: Brazil, Canada, Scotland, all over the Midwest and the U.S. Thank you guys very much. Again, if you guys are looking for a book or you want to try your hand at club making, we got a variety of parts. If you just wanted to make a 5-iron just for the fun of it, or if you wanted to make just a 9-iron, apparently for the fun of it, just to test your skills out and see what it's like. We got heads. I won't say there's enough for a set, but I have assorted shafts, lots of wood stuff, and a variety of ferrules and all kinds of other stuff. So if you're interested and you just want to tinker and figure it out with not a whole lot of cost, it's just whatever it costs to ship. Okay. Keep aware of the video that we got coming out. If it doesn't come out tomorrow, it will be the very next day. And I got one that's on the Pinehurst trip, one on the shoes, and I think that we're close to that one. I might have, and building my set of irons. So there we go. After that, we'll be back here again next Monday, and hopefully we'll have a surprise. We'll try and let you guys know in advance of what that might be. And there we go. Okay, and as always, let's do this because I didn't do this either. There you go. Like, subscribe, smash the notification button so we can get more information out about the channel. All right, and as always, let's see your scores. Go low.